Yes. Okay, cool. Hey, how is everybody?
Doing pretty good. Feeling good today.
That's good. Cool. I wanted to start by asking about how's your meditation going? Generally speaking. Oh, we got Mr. Gutstein in the house too. Wow. It is a good morning, friends. Becky, LJ, Jake, Alexa, Bob. Who invited Bob? I'm just kidding. Awkward. Yeah, so I wanted to ask, do a little bit of a check-in before we get into today's content. Um, it's really nice to hear about other people's meditations because their problems are our problems. And sometimes other people's problems, we're not even aware that they are our problems until we hear them and you go, oh yeah. Or maybe not even problems, but here's what's going well. And it can give us a little bit of insight into where we should aim and head toward in our own meditation. So, nice little check-in. How's your meditation going?
I would say I'll go first. I would say it hasn't been great over the last last week or but for the last couple days I've been back meditating and I've been texting Jake um every day when I meditate, which is nice. I'm looking at my thing. Yeah, I've missed definitely a couple days and I feel like my meditations are um a little bit unfocused and I'm having trouble kind of getting really deep into like a deep state of meditation. However, I'm looking at my like little app that I use to track it and I've in this month so far I've only missed I think like 7 days in total. And so I've been meditating usually for only a couple minutes. But I'm at least building I feel like better momentum. And I kind of just want to give myself a little grace and just try to build like compounding incremental growth. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't felt like I've hit a groove, but I definitely feel like I'm at least building good momentum and stuff. So that's how I would explain my experience.
Nice. That's great. And I'm glad that you're congratulating yourself for doing it at all, regardless of the quality of it. Because to just begin to build that dopamine response system of, yeah, I did it, right? Because if we meditate and we are, it's a bad meditation, and we go, man, I'm bad, guess what? We're not going to want to do it because why would you want to do that if you're chastising yourself every time? And one of my main meditation teachers said, "There's no such thing as a there's no such thing as a bad meditation when you sat down with the intention to meditate. By definition, that's a good meditation." And I think there's actually many layers of wisdom to that. So good job, LJ, for embodying that. Thanks for sharing that. Um, let's talk a little bit about the quality of the mind, which you're feeling is like describe to me what feels difficult about your focus. Describe it.
I think a part of my nature and just my experience is that I'm a very like go 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 kind of person and I feel like I really try to uh I'm just like a very like action oriented like person and I feel like my mind kind of always wants to be like jamming on something or like doing something or like moving my body. I have like pretty crazy like ADD, ADHD. Like I like anytime like sitting still it's just like so it just feels kind of unnatural, frankly. And so I think tend to feel kind of like restless and like my mind races. Um, and I've definitely had experiences where I've had really deep, profound, beautiful like meditations for sure. But I think it really takes I've fallen out. I was in a good groove, I think, at various points, and I feel like when I fall out of that, it can feel really difficult for me personally to kind of re like re-get into that habit. Like it takes a
Yeah.
lot of um just like effort and awareness. And so I'm really just trying to cultivate that. But that's, I would say, kind of the nature of where my difficulty lies is I just feel like like restless or kind of like eager or
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
So between the two of dullness and agitation, it sounds like
way
agitation.
agitation. Yeah.
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 And so a nice language that we can begin to develop.
Mm.
And what we're getting, where we're going in this course, we'll talk a lot more about this pretty soon, is to recognize the agitated mind and to say, I'm having trouble keeping my attention on the object. Like attention on the object. That is a really, really, really important because one of the definitions of meditation is to keep your attention on an object with intent, like with intention. Um, LJ, I can't remember if you were, I can't remember when I said this, but um, whether you were there or not, but my intention is to keep my attention on the object. And if that becomes like a little bit of a mantra for you, um, it's so nice when you catch yourself mind wandering. Bring yourself back to your intention. What's your intention? And you have to feel convicted in it because if you don't feel convicted in the purpose of the meditation, it's very difficult to focus because your mind isn't bought in. Your heart isn't bought in. Maybe you're like trying to discipline your body to sit on a cushion, but the mind is not there. You know, even though you may have disciplined the body. But it's like
Yeah.
being it's like the kid who's like you're like sit in the chair and they're like I don't understand why I'm doing this, you know, and then you like revolt. But
Yeah.
and I have pretty I mean I've never been formally diagnosed, but I most absolutely have ADHD. ADHD, yeah. Um and it's actually a superpower for meditators. So
Really? How's that?
definitely it's so I don't know so much about ADD, um, but I know ADHD. It's not a lot of people think that you lack attention, but what you have is it's challenging to intentionally place your attention. And so what happens is that you can one of the manifestations is you become distracted easily because you don't have as much volition or agency on where to apply your attention.
Mm.
And so one way is that it'll wander, but another way is that it'll fixate. And so I can become extremely focused where, you know, I won't eat for 12 hours. I won't even get up out of my chair. Like, you know, I'll just be like 100% locked in and there could be chaos outside. But my attention is here. And so if you can learn how to use that like a superpower, which a blade cuts two ways. So one is, you know, um, I can't choose the object of my attention, which also means that I'm going to stay on this object of attention because I can't get off of it. And so become the master of it, and you can harness your superpower because ADHD is a superpower for sure, undoubtedly. But it can destroy you also because you don't take care of your body. You don't, you know, you don't understand how to prioritize necessarily because you're interest driven rather than importance driven. And so
Yeah.
another hack of that is to make it more interesting. And here's a really interesting thing that is now going to be recorded. Here we go. Um, think about sex. Okay? Think about something that you find is very interesting, and the mind will go, "Wham." You know, like, and then what you do is, how do I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't think of one. But it's like, like Indiana Jones when he swaps out that object, do that. So you have this object that is like maybe not necessarily like the object of a bodhisattva. You know, it's not necessarily the object of like someone who's trying to become enlightened, but it's an object of attention. And then what you do is once you have your attention, then you just swap out the object. Because your mind, if you can develop that meta awareness, the object, take it away from the object itself and make the object of your attention the attention itself. And so you're
That's
like taking a step back and you're just like this vibe of total absorption, that is my object now. And then holding that stable, then you swap out the object. And then you're now like, okay, cool. What is the nature of that attention? Boom. Now we're doing an emptiness meditation. And now we're doing something that liberates us from suffering.
Hmm. Okay, that's really interesting. I'm definitely going to try that. And I appreciate the different lenses and perspectives. Thank you.
Yeah. One other thing about ADHD people is caffeine is a hell of a drug. Okay. Um, it's cheaper than Ritalin, you know. I'm just kidding. I've never bought Ritalin. Uh, but it's really interesting to play with caffeine as a method of yoga. It is also something to easily abuse and misunderstand. So you're playing with fire a little bit, but if you are somebody who can have a really sober perspective on your own mind, start to play with, especially if there's L-theanine involved. So you're getting to like matcha or like shade-grown green teas, because L-theanine has a sedative effect, and then caffeine has the stimulating effect, which is why in the Zen tradition there's so much green tea, because many people find, and not everybody, things are empty, right? There's nothing in the tea, but perhaps there are methods that resonate with your karmic storehouse. Karmic storehouse is if you imagine all of your karma in a one place and you're like, take inventory of all my karma, that would be your storehouse. And so find methods that resonate with your karmic storehouse so that seeds will open in a nice way. So anyway, j have fun with that, LJ. And obviously I'm exactly in the same boat and I have a lot of mileage under this inquiry. So feel free to, rap with me offline. Thanks for sharing, man. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. Mr. Jake, how you doing? Update.
I'm good, man. I am are you familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect by any chance?
Yeah. Is that like people get into management who shouldn't get into management? Am I
No, mate, no, I don't think so.
very
Um,
good?
it's basically time and it's a chart where like the x-axis is time and the y is confidence. Uh,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. It
and
goes up and then down and then levels out,
right,
right?
and then kind of plummets. I'm just kind of accepting of like the free fall tumble that I'm going to be on for a little while here. So like, the goal is to sit and just kind of do the thing, and like try, like I love the idea of intention. Like I am intentionally trying to apply what we're talking about, um, and so I can get into kind of the specifics of my experience, but like I'm certainly not. I've kind of let go of expectation or like performance as it relates to this area. I'm just like, I, I really, we had spoken about, um, I'm like sitting down and I'm thinking, I'm bringing a teacher to mind typically is like the structure of the meditation through the steps that we discussed last week. I went back, re-listened to the recording, and then also that we had spoken about. Um, and I'm enjoying doing it. I haven't ascended. Like I like nothing like insane has come uh to me yet. But it is nice just to like think about people who have had effects on me, and like I'm still on the second person since in the 3 weeks maybe that we've spoken about this. It's like nice to kind of think through the lens of those people. Like I just like enjoyed that element of this.
Cool. How do you find the quality of your attention in those meditations?
Um, Depends on the sitting. So like yesterday, I think was less uh of lower quality, I guess, than some of the other times that I've sat to do it. I have really liked the idea of like recognizing and then celebrating the fact that I'm off. I've lost focus and then bringing myself back. Um, I've been sitting for 14 minutes and it's very quick. I've found, uh, but I'm just still trying. It's just very quick for the phases that we talked about, right? Like it's like I feel like I
Yeah.
attention to something and then like I
I would
have
definitely try if you're really trying to do the object that we discussed. And by the way, Jake is talking about the preliminaries. Um,
yes.
for those of you who don't know, um, 20 minutes for me is kind of like if I'm taking the preliminaries as my object of focus, 20
Okay.
minutes for me is kind of like a sweet spot. Other than that, I feel like I'm kind of rushing. But then, for perspective and for everybody's benefit, you can do the preliminaries in 2 minutes also. Once it becomes, I really like the words that LJ was using, a groove. Like once it becomes a groove, you can kind of jam through it because they are a warm up. However, if you are taking it as the object of your meditation, which is what I did for the first many years of my meditation career, um, I found that 20 minutes was kind of my sweet spot for a really nice starting point of really getting familiar with all the objects.
Did you apply equal time to each?
Oh man, hard to say. Because I didn't measure it out unit by unit.
Got it.
I would just set a little I would just I have this thing where there's a hammer on a bowl and I set it for 20 minutes and it goes ding.
Physical goal?
Yep.
Oh, neat.
Um yeah. I was in the jungle, electricity was like kinda there. So like I had to find other ways. So like a
Okay.
battery powered little
That's crazy.
timer with a bowl.
Yeah.
Um and uh And then what I would do is it would do that and then I'd try to finish up. But I never like tried to be precise.
Right. I have like a little gong meditation app and I can
Nice.
set an interval gong. And so that's kind of how I've been doing it, but that makes it quite precise.
Yeah, cool. A couple notes on this that I think are useful globally. First of all, thanks for sharing. Um, when we talk about what the benefits, like why are we meditating? And you use the word ascend. Um, yeah, that sounds great. Let's transcend, or whatever. However, just on like the basis of like chopping wood and carrying water, just like showing up and eating your broccoli and brushing your teeth and uh one of the things that Jake said to me when we were first starting is like, I'm in for the marathon. And I really think that that's absolutely how you need to see the skill of meditation. See it in the same way that you would see learning how to play piano. It is a skill, right? It's not like an effect, like you light a firework and then as long as there's a spark, you'll get a result that's like magnificent as long as you had enough money to spend. Meditation is a very, very incremental, long-term pursuit. Some people have the seeds for it to be something that is like immediately revelatory and you just drop into whatever. But other people, you have to build in over time, especially if you've never really learned how to discipline the mind with intention. You've just had to coerce it through objects of interest. Um, but just to sit there without any kind of external objects and be able to cultivate that same level of focus, that takes time. And so, um, I can't tell you the benefits that you should expect. Well, I mean, I can, but what am I trying to say here? Try to check for yourself. Like when you are in a week of consistent meditation, have the self-awareness of like, how am I different this week? And even in tiny ways, because the compound effect is a real thing. Like if you're just a little bit nicer, just a little bit, isn't that cool? Then what happens after a 6 months of that? Like, how do your friends start to feel about you? How do your coworkers start to feel about you? How does your mom start to, how do you start to make the world a little bit better of a place by just being a little bit better of a person? Um, and so what those qualities are for you, you have to sell yourself on this because having someone else sell you on it is very limited. But if you're able to really see the benefits for yourself and your own experience, so a couple things to pay attention to is number one is generally, if I take like the average amount of chaos internally in a whole day, when I'm generally meditating, and you can't take meditation on a day-to-day basis because today I'm great and tomorrow it's awful, but if I take the whole month as an aggregate, generally my internal chaos has reduced. And what does that actually mean? Well, number one, I feel less stressed or distressed. Like I feel less affected by the world outside of me. I feel more in control of my internal world, which that if that was the only benefit, guys, that's I think that's worth it personally, because there's a lot of stress outside, and I get a lot of stress inside. My cortisol is like wackadoodle, and I burn out. And if I don't have a good grip on that, then it grips me. So being able to take that agency back is really valuable. Number one. Number two is notice how in micro behaviors you're just more intentional. Now, the intention that I would apply to that is I'm more compassionate, right? So, like when someone is a jerk to me, maybe I go from 1 millisecond before I want to punch him in the face to 2 milliseconds before I want to punch him in the face because we're trying to expand that awareness between stimulus and response to interject the state of being that we really want to be. And so, if we can just by a millisecond, it can change our lives. It really can. Um, because entire lives can change in a millisecond. So even getting that incremental difference, and then there's more and more and more benefits. But I think that those are some really basic ones that are worthy of paying attention. And then what'll happen, Jake, is that you'll if you have a nice foundation, or like LJ said, you have a nice groove, then when you go in to have you're like, okay, I blocked off 2 hours. I'm gonna do a really nice Saturday morning practice, before everyone starts the day drink or whatever, or like, I don't know, before everybody goes, I'm just gonna do my practice and I'm gonna be patient. I don't have any meetings. Like, this is my intention this morning is to go deep. I'm gonna dig the well deeper. I've been getting the water all week, but today I'm gonna dig deeper. And if you have that consistent foundation, it is so much easier to have revelatory experiences or something like that, like deep insight. Whereas if you just like go in once every 2 weeks for a 2 hour meditation, it's extremely unlikely that you're going to have any kind of beneficial experience. But if you have that momentum of just a daily habit, you're much more accident prone to the accident of insight. So good ways to measure success. I think that it's really endearing to like want to try to ascend every single morning. That's really nice. Don't get rid of that. But also recognize small success and how it's incremental. All right, let's do a couple more. Oh, Alexa just typed in something. I'll read it. Jake, not to cut off if you wanted to respond to that. No obligation, but I just moved on.
No, that was a beautiful sentiment. I pulled up Alexa's message.
Cool. Alexa says, for me, meditation has been a little hard being back from retreat. My mind feels so agitated. So Alexa just did a month of silent retreat. Congratulations. So she came back, which is very jarring. I've never done a month, but I've done some amount of time, and to come back is quite jarring. I attribute it to such high stimulation of the senses and phone use, I guess. Yes. Yeah, going from zero screens whatsoever to Zoom life, is like kind of chronically debilitating sometimes. My attention on the object feels less vivid, but hey, I'm still practicing. Yay! I do love the fact that my posture feels automatically comfortable and ready for meditation. Nice. I've been meditating in half lotus for the past month and a half, and I'm happy it feels great. I'm so happy for you. That has never felt great for even one moment for me. I can definitely feel the energy shooting up the upper part of my body, which is cool for the meditations I've been doing. Nice. That's great. And a nice segue into today's content. Thanks, Alexa. Um, yeah, I find that my meditation has seasons. And it's easy for me in a low season to ditch it because I'm not feeling successful. And I found that every time I do that, I regret it. Um, I forgive myself for whatever and I move on. But I just try to remember that every time I want to get rid of like ditch it, I'm like, nah, man, just 5 minutes, it's totally worth it. So I really respect that Alexa is continuing to try. Like, it's ironic after having really profound experiences or having a really solid practice, that is when I'm most likely to lose my practice, because I become lazy and content, forgetting the causes of my happiness and just enjoying the happiness. Okay. Becky says, lately I have good practice with community with a guide, but on my own, my mind is too agitated to focus during practice or to even want to sit. I'm not sure why, but I need other people for a good session. I think I'm watching too much TV news. That is a huge, Becky, very much so. For me, at least, when I consume more sporadic, like the way that news is designed is not to deliver news, is to deliver neurochemical sensation. Right? And so it's meant to just like be wacky to your insides. That's my opinion of most social media and most news. And I can very much feel that show up in my meditation. And it's like when you're like really, really in the prime of your fitness and then you just like throw complete garbage into your system. It feels awful. And my mind is really beautiful and my heart is really pure, and then I just like jump on social media mindlessly, or I just like consume stuff. It feels the same way as like eating white bread with sugar on it after I've just been like absolutely savage with my fitness. I think I'm watching too much TV news because this is a pattern I have noticed before when that happens. Yeah. Um, um, I think 23 years. Yeah. Um, oh my gosh. Hari Harinanda did 23 years of silent retreat, which is unfathomable to me. Um, and I love his commentary on the Yoga Sutra. It's you can tell that somebody who's like actually done the work wrote it. Um, and I think about that. Like, this is a guy who his entire life's purpose is to save the whole world, and he doesn't watch the news. Right? So why is it that I'm watching the news? So I think it's really interesting to just check in on our intention and motivation when we're consuming content. Um, and I think that it's really good to be aware of our world, especially if we're in our world. But to be extremely thoughtful and mindful about that and just absolutely challenge why it is that we're consuming content. Um, because it very directly affects your prana. Okay, cool. Um, Sophie, do you want to chime in at all? No obligation.
Hi everyone. Um, yeah, I kind of just got in a little late, so catching up with all the thoughts. What you guys been talking about?
How's your meditation? We're just doing a
My
check-in. We've been,
meditation, it was
yeah.
yeah, just 2 times a week. Oh, I'm so bad.
No, you're
Yeah, I
so
mean,
good. No, 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 no. Maybe you missed that part. You're good because you've done it twice. Yay, celebrate.
yeah, basically with you. Yeah, I need need to do it more often, as you just mentioned. To see the result, you need to do more than 2 times a week. So I'm gonna work on it.
Okay. My favorite way to work on it is to give my friend my credit card and tell them that if I don't meditate, that they should donate my money to the KKK.
That's a great
Guess
idea.
guess who never missed a meditation when he does that? This guy.
Right.
I'm like, hey, go or like go give my money to someone who makes bombs if I
I
don't meditate.
I don't think I've ever thought about how to get my money to the KKK. Like, do they just have a website? Is it a 501c3?
You know what? It's so funny you say that, Jake, because I've had the same idea. I'm like, do I just go to kkk.org and there's a
Right,
donate
right,
button in the corner? Like, I don't know. And then I was like, I don't even want that URL in my like anywhere near my IP address.
right. I think if
There's
we're saying it, we're now on like there's like a seventh person in this call now.
there's literally a if anyone's familiar with the show Nathan for You, it's a really phenomenal comedy show. There's an episode that's literally exactly this where he has
Well,
a goal and he yeah, so it's really funny.
Yeah. Well, it's really important for goal setting is to have stakes. If the only thing that we are doing is a pleasant, like approaching something pleasant, then we are much less likely to be successful. We have to be aware of the consequences of being unsuccessful. And if the consequences are very low, then it's because we need two boundaries. One is to lift us up and the other is to draw us up. And so the top one is, yeah, I want to become better. And then the bottom one is don't get worse. And the two are really important. And the higher the stakes, then the more likely you are to be successful. Like think about it, if someone pointed a gun at you, like of course you'd meditate. You know, if they're like, meditate, you'd be like, okay, the stakes are so high. And so you should never do that. However, we should understand that aspect of the human mind. Like that is like the principle of that is a true thing, or at least a hackable thing.
Bob, my absolute goal now is to find the emptiness in that situation. Because it was enough to focus on it and hold my focus on that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, there was this. Oh, okay, we're never gonna get to class, but here we go. This is really, really, really nice. A very dear student of mine. We were in Kyoto, and this this student is so committed, but just cannot meditate. You know, poor guy, just cares so much and just cannot freaking do it. And so I did something that was dramatic, that is traditional, and I really don't advise this. Um, I I gave him boiling water and I put it in a cup and I told him to hold the cup in his hands and I said walk and I walked away from him and it's like it'll obviously scald your fingers and I said don't spill a drop and walk to me and he was in perfect single point of concentration. And he was just like, I'd never seen him focus so much because the stakes are so high. And I said, you just meditated. Congratulations. Now do that without the boiling water. And now he's meditating, 45 minutes on a daily basis, which is better than what I do sometimes, because he found the groove. So we can do that without the boiling water because you can just imagine that. But maybe you need the boiling water. But don't do that. All right. I don't carry insurance as spiritual warrior. All right, let's go into class. So we're gonna talk about posture, and then yeah. Thank you for all your feedback because it helps guide me in what I'm going to teach next week. So I really appreciate the feedback. But this week we're gonna talk about posture. This is a really big deal. I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until I realized it was a big deal, and then I realized it was a big deal. So we're gonna talk about it. Look at BKSI Iyengar. This very suspicious human is incredible. Student of Krishnamacharya, who's one of my favorite modern yogis ever. Just absolutely exquisite, trained in the Himalayas. So BKSI Iyengar and Sri Patapi Joyce were both students of Krishnamacharya. Krishnamacharya, his teacher was basically like, "Hey, go convince people that this is legit because the British are like here." And he would go and he would stop his heartbeat for 2 minutes to the silly Westerners who thought that yoga was silly. And he's like, "Oh, let me break your understanding of what you thought was possible." And they're like, "How do you do that?" And he goes, "Oh, concentration." Right? So that's Krishnamacharya. Super casual. So his student BKS Iyengar was around when more people wrote things. And so he said, it is through the alignment of the body that I had discovered the alignment of my mind, self, and intelligence. And the reason I brought up BKS Iyengar is because I once heard, and I've been searching for it and I can't actually find it. I think it's in his book, Light on Yoga, which I have not read. He talks about how to know that your asana posture is in the right alignment. He says that it feels like light is shooting through your body. And when you're not in a good alignment, then it doesn't feel like that. And I thought that that was amazing because I started to search for that and you find it. Like you're like, "Oh, I like got it." And so I started thinking of like my channels of the energy in my body as kind of like fiber optic cables where if I get a kink in it, then the light can't move very easily. And it gets scattered and all. And by every body is different. And so the alignment is going to be unique to you. So no one can actually tell you from the outside. You can only find it from the inside of your own experience of as to whether, that's right or not. Obviously, teachers can guide you and help you. But ultimately, you have to be the student of yourself. So posture in meditation is really, 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 really important, which is why I appreciate Alexa suspiciously bringing it up. Um, what happens is because you have these energy systems in your body, they're called nadis. The nadis are your channel. There's all these different channels. Think of it as like plumbing pipes or like electrical wires. Those are the nadis of your body. The word nadi comes in English as note, and it refers originally to a river. And so you can think of the prana moving through the channels in your body like water moving through a riverbed. And then the experience of that is you can actually experience that in the same way that you can experience the river through its sound. So, really beautiful analogy that goes extremely deep, and we won't get into that today. But what I want to say is that when I first started thinking about this for my own experiences, I started feeling that so you have a central channel coming up the middle. Imagine that that was straight. And then what happens is when you become very still, all of the prana just starts to like you can imagine I'm trying to think about okay, you're stirring a cup of water and then it just kind of like finds its own rhythm and its own synchronicity and its own like it's just kind of going and then you stop your spoon and then it's like all right, so you got this like really nice vibe going. You're like, ah. And then you move, even just by dipping your shoulder. And what you'll feel is right here, you'll feel the energy start to like kind of become chaotic. And it's very, very subtle. And I don't expect you to necessarily go and like feel that tomorrow or something like that. But I want you to know that that's what occurs. And so if because we've learned that the thoughts ride on the prana, then it becomes very, very clear as to why this is interesting. If we have a good posture and the prana flows freely, then the thoughts will flow freely also. If you're in a jacked up posture or you're moving around all the time unintentionally, like when we're doing asana, it's a little bit different of a story because it is an energy practice. That's what it really is. But if you're like, agitated and moving and constantly cha 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 cha, then you're going to feel that your energy becomes very disjointed and then the mind becomes very chaotic too. And the deeper that you get into meditation, the more obvious this becomes. And it's actually very jarring to move. And then it gets to a point where, with like a gyroscope, like you start spinning it and then you try to move it, or even simpler, like a wheel, like a bike wheel, and you're holding the axis and you're trying to like change the axis, but there's all this inertia, the radial inertia, and it's really hard to move it. That's what happens even later after you've really established, at least that's my experience. And those who have gone into deep meditation, you can agree or disagree, but that's definitely my experience. Um, and I definitely experienced that this weekend, by the way. Alexa and Becky, you guys were there, where like we got into some spaces and I was like, I'm having so much trouble getting out of this space of absolute tranquility. Like it took a lot of energy to get out of it. So it's kind of interesting to like have this whole arc of like it's a huge amount of work to get into it, kind of, and then you're like working on it, working, and then you just drop in. And then you're just in. And then it takes work to get out. So a lot of this is built on posture. So we're going to go through a little bit of posture today because one of the biggest obstacles is pain in the body when it comes to meditation. So everybody thinks that to meditate, you have to be some full lotus person where you're breaking your knees and your hips, you're going to need some hip surgery. That is not what you need to meditate. For some of my most profound experiences of meditation have come in a chair. So it does not matter whether you are in Burmese style or full lotus style or whatever. The number one most important part that should be the guiding North Star of your meditation posture is a straight spine. Okay, and by straight spine, obviously there's curves in the spine. So it's not like you're actually trying to straighten your spine. The idea here is that the spine is like the head is balanced atop the spine. And so one of the things that I did for a really long time is I didn't know where that was for me. And so what I would do is I would start here and then I'd lean forward and then lean back and then lean forward less, lean forward back less, lean. Boom, there's my center. And so by like I'm ahead, I'm back, I'm ahead, I'm back, I'm ahead, I'm back. And then I just find that center. And then I go left to right. And I just find my balance point in the two major axes. And that was really, really helpful at first to figure out what that means for me and to make sure that my pelvis was flat. Because it's really easy for that pelvis to be leaning forward or for the pelvis to be leaning back. And so just getting into a nice balanced place where the way that you know that you're in the balanced place is that your head is at its maximum height. Because if you have any kind of like rounding that's unnecessary, then you're not as tall as you can be. And so one of the things that you can do is imagine that there's a string like attached to the top of the crown of your head, and then just imagine it being pulled up into heaven. Like that's another way. And so you start to move your pelvis, start to move your back so that your head is as high as it can be. So that's a really nice way to get into a good posture. All right, we're gonna go back now. Alexa said, I found it super helpful to strengthen my back and lower abdomen to find the proper balance through exercising. Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure. When I'm lifting or like doing strength training, my meditation goes up 10x. Like it's not even like 2x. It's not even 5x. Like it is ridiculously beneficial for me to strengthen my body, which is hilarious because this is literally the definition of being sedentary. So it's like to be masterfully sedentary, I need to be very strong and very flexible. But it's true. Thanks, Alexa. Great contribution. So for me, deadlifts, pull-ups, squats, bench press, kettlebell. That is my formula for strength training. If you just do those big lifts, you will be able to meditate better, I do believe. And then you need to also maintain your flexibility. So that's where asana is really nice. But I don't necessarily see asana as exercise. That's not how it fits into my life. I see it as like moving meditation and just working at the level of prana very directly. Okay, so Burmese style, what's not pictured here is that you can put cushions under your knees, and that's really nice. Okay, so Burmese, I think, is the most accessible, sitting on your bottom, closest to a cross-legged style or something like that. That's my opinion. So that's when one foot is in front of the other. There is a tradition of having one of the feet in front of the other. I don't remember what the tradition is. My body just likes one thing and I do that. Uh, and you should switch because your body, the longer you stay in this, the more your body habituates to that one side and then you become unbalanced. And then I know this sounds crazy, but in 30 years of doing this, you're going to regret not having balanced yourself. So, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said something like that recently. He's like, yeah, I kind of wish that I like alternated more. I thought that was interesting because I wasn't even thinking about that for a really long time. Okay, so chair sitting, Burmese style, and full lotus. Full lotus is where your feet are on top of your thighs and calves. Full lotus is, many would say, is the best meditation posture because it forces your lower spine into a really good position that helps the whole rest of your body be um, correct. And then the other aspect of it is that from like a channel standpoint, the alignment is really, really, really nice here. Um, yeah, I've never done it, so I can't talk about it that much. Here's some other postures. So this is Seiza. So this is more in the Zen tradition, where you sit on your feet like this. This is absolutely impossible for me. You will never see me do this, at least not crying. Some people like it. That's great. Good for them. Okay. Um, this when I'm doing very, very, very long meditations, like if I'm gonna be there, if I'm meditating for 4 hours, uh, I will do at least one of my sessions like this. It's very comfortable. Put a bunch of cushions under your bottom, and then you can sit. What's really important, and we're going to get to the principles. I'm just showing you some expressions, and then we're going to end with the principles. What's really important is that the knees are below the hip. The knees are below the hips. Okay, but this is really nice because your femurs are externally rotated in a lot of what we just saw. So what's nice about this is that your femurs are at least neutral. And then if you really want to, you can even get that foot out a little bit and be internally rotated. And this is very, very nice. Um, if I were to do Seiza, this is how I do it. And I did do this, and I find it actually is really quite wonderful. You get this little bench that's angled like this, and it's extremely comfortable. So you can buy these if this is your style. Um, and then this is a dear friend of mine, Alfonso, when we were in Kyoto together, and Alfonso is just he's a student of the Iyengar system, so his alignment is really, really, really superb. And here he is, just grabbed a cushion and threw it under his bottom, and you can just see this alignment is just really nice, really nice. Okay, so here's Vairochana's posture. So Vairochana is a Buddha, and it's the Buddha of appearances. And how should we appear? How should we show up when we go to our meditation? So it's called Vairochana's posture, and they call it the 7 or 8 point posture. So here's all 8, and this is, by the way, Michael Johnson's work, Clear Light Yoga. I ripped it off of his Instagram because I just love how he talks. He's I think he's one of the best American yogis alive right now. I don't know that many, so it's very easy for me to say that, but also he's just extremely qualified. So this is what I'm gonna ask you to meditate on this week, is this. So I just showed a couple examples, but you'll find that these principles are applicable to all of the examples that we just went through. So you start at the bottom and you work your way up. Legs. Place them well enough for good circulation to the toes and back. So how should I put my legs? It's not saying cross-legged here. It's not saying this, that, or the. It's saying good circulation. That's what you want, right? So this means you can lay down, and then good circulation means that the knees are below the hips. Otherwise, the blood will pool in your pelvis, and your energy will pool in the pelvis, and it'll be easy to become dull. Okay. Then your back. Place the spine as upright as possible and self-supported, so it remains upright when completely relaxed. If you guys want to trip out real quick, there's something called tukdam. Tukdam is a state of being when, in the Western context, the being inside the body has passed. So they are clinically dead, but they are in a meditation posture and their body does not decompose for weeks or months. And I feel like probably every 2 or 3 weeks, there's some great lama somewhere who's entered Tukdom. Um, and we know I've been around long enough now that I know somebody who entered Tukdom. I know two people who entered Tukdom, Geshe Lotar and Lama Zopa. These are two extremely advanced meditators who they were aware that it was their time, and so they went into meditation and intentionally exited. But they did so in a way that, so if your spine isn't well supported, then you can't have as good of a meditation, let alone do that supreme final exit called Tukdam. And there's a great documentary on it, by the way, called Tukdam, Tukdam. And it's really cool because a bunch of scientists from the West try to like figure it out and they just absolutely could not. Um, and it's so funny because the Western scientists are like, oh, that's not true. That's just some like folklore thing. And they're like, nope, here it is. Come and see it. Which is extremely radical because you can imagine these people, it's a very special state. And you do not disturb those people. And so these people said, yeah, use my death to help Western science catch up to yoga. Like, I think that that's really profound. Um, and yeah, anyway, okay, let's keep going. So then head. Uh, so then the head is actually let's jump to shoulders before we go to head. Shoulders, position the arms so the thumbs barely touch when completely relaxed. So that's like this. I don't do that. That's not how I meditate. Um, that is a very traditional way to do it, and you'll see a lot of the Zen meditators do that. It's a really good way to determine whether you're agitated or dull. So if you're agitated, your thumbs are pressing hard against each other. And if you're dull, they start to fall forward, just like you would. And so you want it to be so that you could barely hold on to a piece of paper between your two thumbs. And that someone, if they wanted to, they could just like kind of pull it out. Um, I find my personal opinion on this is that this has more to do with the proportional ratio of your humerus. So if you have longer arms, I think that it's probably more comfortable to do this. If you have shorter arms, it might not be as comfortable. That's my theory. I haven't proved it out. But in asana, the length of your humerus and the length of your femurs really determine the shape of your body and postures. So two people can have totally different shapes and they're both correct because they understand their own unique body. So when I meditate, I do what's called Jnana Mudra, which is, so this is Chin Mudra. Let me stop sharing my screen. So Chin Mudra is this. I like to do Jnana Mudra, which is this. And then y'all are going to see my hair legs. Here we go. Um, and what I do is I have my middle finger line up with my femur. So for me, uh, the blurriness is not helping us. So I'm like this. There it is. I find that alignment to be extraordinary. And even when I'm just a little bit off, it feels totally different than if I'm here or if I'm here. So just finding that nice spot. What's really important is that if you're even forward an inch on that, your body over time, your back rounds and you go forward and you get strained in your lower back because you have this tension of everything pulling you forward. And so what I do is I don't touch my legs. I don't touch my, let me see if I can not be dangerous. Demonstrate like this. So, uh, can you hear me okay still? Okay. So, all right. All right, and if this is my last conscious moment on Earth, I'm glad I could share it with you guys. Um, so what I do first is I have my arms be down. So I don't put my hands down and then relax. I put my shoulders in a really nice position. So shoulder blades are together. So if my shoulder blades, this is like when you're like this, your shoulder blades are like this. And when you're like this, the shoulder blades are together. So that's going to automatically open up your chest. Okay, so shoulders are down and back. And then the humerus is externally rotated just a little bit so it's right here. Okay. And then once I'm in a neutral position like this, I just let my hands land where they are. Okay. So see how the angle of this is not aligned with my spine? When I do this over time, the tension of this going like that is pulling your body, even though it's a tiny amount of weight over an hour, you really feel it. And so get the shoulders right, drop them, and then just go in like that. Okay. By the way, that took me like freaking like 5 years to figure out. And it was crazy because the difference of my hand position uh, literally is an inch. And it was a game changer for me because as you get more and more subtle, like an inch becomes a mile, you know? Okay. So that's the shoulder position. That's how I like to do it. Um, and then if you're cold, uh, you put your arms closer in, and if you're hot, then you can get a little bit of space between your arm and your body. These are really fine detailed things that, you know, won't become relevant until you're doing like half an hour plus. Maybe. I don't know. All right. Shoulders, good. So we did legs, back, shoulders, head. Oh my gosh, it's 9 a.m. Okay, allow the head to rest directly over the spine so the neck is unstrained. So not like this, not like that, not like that, not like that. Just try to have the whole thing just straight up and down. Teeth, let's go to tongue. Tongue is resting in stillness behind the upper two front teeth of the palate, like this. So what'll happen is your saliva will stop. And if you do have saliva, it will just like you don't have to swallow if you do this correctly. So the tongue is on the roof of the mouth and, behind the front two teeth. Yeah, good. Teeth. Let the lower row of teeth separate from the upper row. So you're not clenching your teeth. You're relaxed. Yeah. And it's like a millimeter or something like that. But everybody's jaw is going to be different, so find it. But the point is you should be effortless. If you're making effort, then something's not lined up. Okay, breath. Actually, let's jump to eyes, either open or closed. So you can meditate with your eyes open. I don't find that to be useful at all, personally. The only time that I find that to be useful is when I'm feeling dull. So if I'm starting to fall asleep, what I'll do is I'll crack my eyelids open just a little bit so that I can't actually see anything, but light is coming in and it stimulates the mind and it wakes my mind up. Which, by the way, is a great hack if you struggle with dullness in your meditation, is that you just crack your eyes just a little bit. Okay? But keep them still. And then breath is in and out freely through the nostrils. And that is the 8-point posture. And that is today's class. So, your mission this week is to memorize these 8 points and then experience them. Like as you meditate, have the metacognition, have the awareness of your own mind. As you're adjusting these things, can you tell a difference? Okay, and really lock in your posture because if your posture is screaming at you the whole time you're trying to meditate, there's no way you're going to be able to meditate. All right, so we can't even talk about objects. We can't talk about truth if your body is like, I'm revolting. This is the worst, you know? So you go, all right, fine, let's work together. All right, so work on your posture, find your jam. It's if you're really in for the long term on this, this is absolutely worth 1 week of finding your jam, right? And then your body will change over time. So you'll constantly have to renew this, constantly have to change it. But at least you know the principles now. All right. So I'm not talking about emptiness today. I'm not talking about the nature of reality today. I'm just talking about knees and shoulders, heads and toes. All right. Yeah, let's be successful. So thank you so much for coming to class. I appreciate it. I do realize that time is up, so feel free to dip out. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm happy to take questions though for anybody who would like to stay a little bit late. Peace out.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Alshay.
Peace.
Peace out. Any questions?
Thank you, Bob, as always. And yeah, I don't really have any question. It was very nice to hear all these details. I already heard those, but it's kind of like a good reminder.
Yeah, good.
Obviously, because I'm like, more with the physical part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were saying, that one of the things was that your body started to hurt when you were in meditation. So it's always nice to hear different approaches to the posture so that we can really I learn every time I hear someone talk about their posture. It's so cool because for me it's like I'm looking for that one thing. You know what I mean? I've heard meditation posture taught many times, but everybody has just at least one thing that you're like, ah.
Yeah,
So
and for me personal, it's always was easier like to approach the meditation after the practice, like after the
without a
physical part.
doubt.
Yeah, so that's why I have always hard time just to do it on its own because I feel like it's too hard for me to stop
Yeah.
my mind. But after the practice, it just like shut down automatically, and that's
Yeah.
where I usually say, like after Shavasana or even in Shavasana, that's where I kind of like
Hmm.
I have my meditation.
Nice. Yeah, I that is my preferred way also, to do my physical practice first and then to do my meditation. And I found what is my absolute minimum physical practice to do my meditation. I just, four postures and that's like, it really helps me. Um, so cool. I relate.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you.
cool. Becky asks, forward head posture. I get distracted by it and then I effort too hard to stop. So, do you mean, do you can you demonstrate, Becky? No, you can't demonstrate. All right. Is it like this or is it like that? The second one. It's like that. Okay, cool. Yeah, so how's your shoulder position? Bad. Okay. Start there. Yeah, so yeah, so you know, so you're not like this. That automatically is gonna make you go like this. So what I like to do is up, back, and down. And just that. And if you were to look at my shoulder blades, that I could put a pencil between them. Maybe not. Maybe like a fat marker or something like that. Because it shouldn't be too much, or else you're like working too hard. But it should just be like this, okay, try this right now. Well, if it's okay. Put your hands in front of you and then rotate them open and then rotate them open even more so that you're at maximum open. Okay? And then from there, then open your arms. Do you feel your shoulders? Do you feel your shoulder blades? Now keep it like that and then drop your arms into meditation. So just by by externally rotating your humerus, what you're doing is your lats have to work. Boom. And then if you go like if you go open, then your chest opens, your shoulder blades need to come back because it's really your traps, which is the muscle like right back here, and your lats, which is that like a bat wing looking thing in your armpit. Okay, and then once you're there, that's a nice way to kind of get that, and then just notice how your neck changes. Uh, where do you keep your hands to put it that way? So when you're doing a warrior two position, right? So a lot of students will do like this, okay? But a good warrior two position, that humerus is totally open. So, you know, you'll see students do this, but then what you do is to teach is you say open your hands all the way, boom. And then from here with that elbow pointing up, keeping the elbow up, then you rotate your hand forward. All right, so you're like here and then you're like that. So you're open like this. So open up, come back, and then my elbows are pointing forward. I'm not set up to demonstrate like this. No, you can't see my legs. All right. So I'm like sinking in this chair. This is not a good meditation chair. But you know, I'm like here. And so my elbows are pointed forward, like this, like my elbow pits. Okay. So if they're like this, they're pointed this way, right? And so what's going to happen is my shoulders are going to round. But if I go like this, you know, they're pointed this way. And then just make sure the elbows are back, right? Because if they're like this, then you're going to want to round. But if they're back, then you stay it's it's just a lot easier. I don't know how else to say it. All right. Wow, 6-year problem. That's awesome. Well, not a 6-year problem, but a solution. Cool. Yeah, good luck. And by the way, I don't know what's up with your jaw. Um, but the jaw is definitely connected to the neck muscles. And the neck muscles are definitely connected to the back, right? And so if you're like this, then you can have all kinds of weird compensations in the rest of your body. Because like this is gonna stay back as your head goes forward, and your TMJ, TMJ, temporal mandibular joint. Yeah. So your masticator muscles here, you know, are connected to your temple, and then your temple. Yeah, anyway, it's all connected. You know that. Um, and so by correcting your posture in that, it's gonna be really great. And then for strengthening stuff, what I would definitely recommend for you would be Shalabhasana. Shalabhasana, locust pose. And then I would do it with the variation with your arms extended. Um, so does that make sense? It's like you're flying like Superman. Do you know what I'm talking about, Becky? She's typing. I don't know that one, but I appreciate it. Okay, so look up Shalabhasana. Anga Shalabhasana. Locust pose. Um, And then again, so there's so like the first variation of it is where your arms are back at your side like this. The next variation of it is when your hands are together like this. Then the next variation is when the hands are like this. And the next variation is with cactus arms. And the next variation is with arms overhead or at a 45 degree. And what that's going to do is it's going to strengthen this whole It's going to strengthen your lower back, which is important, and your glutes, which is really important. And then it's also going to be strengthening that mid back and neck. And so all that is just getting you to be able to have this really nice, strong, straight back. Yeah, and you can do it in bed, by the way. Like in the very beginning, depending on your level of strength, just do it in bed. Um, and just work on it, little by little. Cool. Yay. Nice smiles. All right. Anything else, friends? Cool. Okay. Meditate. It's good for you. Thank you for coming. I'll see you guys soon.
Thank
Oh,
you.
actually, hey, real quick. This is the last class for a while. Um, oh, Alexa, we got to make sure that gets up and out. So I'm going on vacation. Yay! I love my family. And I'm gonna go hang out with my family at a lake. It's really nice. So I'm headed up on Friday, which means that we won't have class this Saturday. We won't have class next Tuesday. We won't have class next Saturday, and we won't have class next Tuesday. So basically 2 weeks. So the next class will be July 12th. That'll be the next class. Um, so maybe how crazy would it be if you guys got together and did a review and a discussion? I don't know. Who knows? We got a group chat. Just because Bob's going on break doesn't mean you get a break. Just kidding. All right. Practice well, be well. I'm still around, if you have personal questions, I'm here to serve. So just text me, but I'm not gonna like do a class or something. All
Sounds good.
right.
Thank you, Bob. Have a great vacation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Love you guys. See you soon. Peace.